What's up, everybody? Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking out the channel. Much appreciated. And I had to get on here. You know, I haven't done a lot of fight recaps in a while. I used to do this all the time on this channel, give you your recap, especially, at Fighters Fury on 790 The Ticket, which I did for years. It was my first talk show on 790 The Ticket with my guy, Seema, and the best of them all, Tommy Guns, and I enjoyed doing that show tremendously. First opportunity that they gave me, and then eventually just things come to an end, and it was a tough ending for me because it was my first gig. And then I ended up doing a lot of stuff. I kind of just kept it going as Tobin's Fight Show for a little bit. I was doing the recaps on my own, putting them out independently, and I still had a 790 podcast channel. But then I got this great opportunity last December to work for BetQL and do Tapped Out, but it was a cool concept because we're doing everything leading into fight night. It's basically, like a pre-fight show, and UFC's been great with getting us guests. We've had, everybody from Adesanya and Robert Whittaker the night that they fight to Chito Vera, to Calvin Kattar, to Tom Aspinall. Really just like they've done wonders with getting us, the main eventers nearly every week. We were supposed to talk to Rocky this week, talk to Leon Edwards this week, and I got we were supposed to talk to him on Thursday, and just got a last minute note from them that he was pulling back on interviews a little bit. And I say no, I'm not gonna be somebody who's complaining to the UFC. Like they've been tremendous to me. So I want to get back to doing some recaps, and I figure what better time to do it than with this one, because last night my mind was blown, dude. It was one of those nights where you remember why you love the sport so damn much, and it's tough because it came against a guy I really, really love in Kamaru Usman. I think the world of his fighting ability and just how great he is. We were talking on Tapped Out that day just about, like, is he the best pound for pound? Is he the current reigning GOAT, all that type of stuff. And you think about all these accolades that you throw on somebody, and I really did feel like going into this that he was going to be untouchable. I felt like as much as Leon Edwards had improved, and he had, that Kamaru Usman had also improved leaps and bounds, did not feel like he was going to be shook striking with Leon Edwards. And also always had the wrestling and the grappling and the clinch game to go to, where there's just gonna be too many avenues for him to go to that he was just not. I just didn't see the path for Leon Edwards to win this fight, and all of that seemed spot on, did it not? I mean, other than Leon Edwards getting a kind of out of nowhere takedown in the first round. Everything else kind of went according to plan if you are Kamaru Usman, whether it be him taking him down willy-nilly as he wanted to, seemed to be getting the better of him in the strikes, was mixing it up well with the bodies. I wouldn't say it was like the most exciting fight in the world by any means, but Kamaru Usman, I felt like, was showing a better skill set pretty much everywhere in that cage against Leon Edwards. And it was so nuts because you're not only hearing Leon Edwards' corner just plead with him, scream with him, come on, stop letting him bully you, why are you letting this fight slip away, why are you doing this, like, confused. It was weird because you never hear a fight, I feel like you never hear body language analyzed as much in a fight as you did with Leon Edwards, where they were talking about from the get-go, Rogan and DC were talking about Leon Edwards not looking at Kamaru Usman. Leon Edwards, he's not looking at the eye of the coach. Dean Thomas comes in. He goes, he knows he's mentally broken. He can't do it. Getting a moral victory just to go to a decision, just get to the final horn. And that would be a victory in itself, that he's resigned himself, that this is the last opportunity he's got to ever fight for a championship. Look how long it took him. And for all of that narrative to build on. And I don't think it's unjustifiable. Everybody says, well, I got people say, oh, they were disrespecting Leon. Guys, he was 13-1 coming into that final round on the live odds. I don't even know what they were at the moment. I'm sure they were even greater if you were doing it PFL style, where they were throwing the live odds as it goes. But he was down 39-37 on all scorecards. Pretty sure he was going to a 49-46 for a unanimous decision for Kamaru Usman. And then he does it. It doesn't even really compute with me in the moment, because it's just like one of those things where you're like, what did I don't understand what I just watched. You know, like we've seen plenty of head kicks. We just saw one last week with Dominic Cruz versus Chito Vera, where Chito Vera, probably down the scorecards, comes up, big head kick, and beats Dominic Cruz. But this was one of those nights. I didn't even like believe it when I woke up. I was like, did I watch what I thought I watched last night with Leon Edwards head kicking Kamaru Usman cold on the canvas? The pictures are brutal. The eyes are rolled to the back of the head. You know, just an unbelievable title reign over, just like that. This sport is just such a cruel demon with the way it is to its greats, to its legends, and for a guy like Kamaru Usman to basically, like, think about this. It's like if you were to give it a football analogy, like Kamaru Usman basically could have run out the clock, could have taken a knee, could have skedaddled. They did break up one clinch where no action was happening, so Herb Dean did bring it back to that situation where there was some striking going on, but this is in the bag. It's over. And then it wasn't. And then Leon Edwards comes in there with a beautiful setup to nail Kamaru Usman with a lead kick. Kamaru ducking right into it, and the lights were out. And I just don't even understand like how to put it into words last night. Like it was funny. My wife was up, and she goes, because normally I'm a screamer. You know, like if something crazy like that, I'm screaming. I'm waking up the house. I was stunned. I didn't even know what I had just witnessed between the stakes of the fight, what the narrative was. Because even the Broncos, it could seep into everybody. Oh, man, maybe Leon Edwards is mentally broken. You know, Dean Thomas doesn't know. And Dean Thomas, great tweet afterwards where he goes, I'm never talking about fighting again. I don't know about fighting, which is hilarious. But for where they were in the fight, less than 60 seconds left, who he's doing it against, how that guy was fighting up until that point, it just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. You know, like somebody on my Instagram yesterday was like, because I was like, that is, I think, the most shocking result I can ever remember. Just like all situations. And somebody said, well, what about Yuri Prochazka recently? Like, yes, Yuri Prochazka pulling out a submission late on Glover Teixeira is really, really impressive and is one of the most clutch wins. It's right up there with, you know, Robbie Lawler knocking out Rory McDonald in a title fight. Like there's been clutch wins before, but think about all of the stakes. Like this guy looked complete. Like Yuri and Glover were having a good back and forth, even if Glover was up on the scorecards. Leon was getting basically skunked in this fight and didn't look like he had anything left to offer Usman. And to pull out something like this, a rabbit out of his hat, and to win the title like that against the guy who is the certified number one pound-for-pound fighter on the planet. Everybody's talking about he's going to replace GSP as the GOAT of the welterweight division. Some are wondering, could he go out there and become the all-time GOAT, tying Anderson Silva's record, all this type of stuff. And for it to end like that, so shocking. Like, it's just flabbergasting that happened. And it's the beauty of the sport, man. The thing is just a cruel bastard to everybody. We've now had a year where we've had not the same year, but we've had a calendar year, a 12-month span, really an 8-month span, where we've seen Amanda Nunes lose and we've seen Kamaru Usman lose in pretty stunning fashion. But even Amanda's fight, like, we kind of saw the writing on the wall as that round was going on, and it was like Amanda kind of just had enough. Some may want to use the term quit, whatever. For Usman's got to be thinking to himself, this one's in the bag, baby. And over. Amazing. And I didn't think Leon had a shot going into this fight. I'm not going to be a phony and say that I thought he was going to win. that fight was going exactly how I thought it was going to go. I thought that Usman was going to dominate him over 5 rounds. I didn't see a finish coming either way, but I thought that Usman just had too much for him, and Leon's a durable guy. But for the most part, it's kind of like, he hasn't been the most thrilling fighter in the world. Like this title shot is almost a process of elimination. People always say, oh, Leon's been disrespected. Leon's been this, Leon's been that. Yeah, but also if you've watched some of Leon's fights, you'd be kind of leaving yourself like, that was a little unfulfilling, He's the guy where Nate Diaz's last 30 seconds is more memorable than his 4.5 rounds. That's kind of how it's gone for him in this weight. And I know that Usman's always had respect for him. I remember asking Usman, when Masvidal was kind of heating up, and he goes, I don't even think Masvidal is the best fighter right now. I think you guys are all hyping him up. I think Leon's more deserving of him. And this comes from a guy that he already beat. So he's always had respect for the guy. I really believe that. And I think that you saw the rage that he had when he knew that he lost that first round and that he had gotten taken down and that Usman had kind of had tripped him up, and got him into that and got that takedown on him, and he had to do a lot of hand fighting and keep Leon away from his neck. But he took that moment and really flipped it on its head and was unbelievably dominant throughout this fight. Through the striking, through the takedown. I think the only thing that was well pointed out by the broadcast team is like that his lack of a submission game maybe hurt him at certain points, because he probably, if he has the wherewithal, like probably could have taken Leon Edwards back and maybe put him out. And I think that certain other fighters probably would. That was probably like the only opportunity I think he let slip away at certain points. But, it was a really, really hard-fought fight. These guys were both grabbing the cage. They were both cheating. There was one point actually earlier in that round, it was funny enough, where Usman, who's really good at this, he is good at selling that people foul him when they don't. And, like, he takes a shot on the belt line, which looks clean, but he gives Herb Dean a look and, is basically saying that was low. But he's almost in this Barry Bonds effect with umpires where, like, if he says it, you got to kind of respect it. But, he was after that first round, he was picking up Leon. He was dumping him on his back anytime he wanted to. He was, working the body shots. He was really, really good with his hands. And it did. It looked like Leon Edwards was fading from the pressure. Some people were wondering about the thin air, the altitude. That was a big storyline throughout the night. We certainly saw that in the crazy Luke Rockhold versus Paulo Costa fight, which was, that was a strange one. That was absolutely weird. But man, I'm still shook by last night. That was one for the ages for me. Like, I remember being in a bar for Ronda Rousey versus Holly Holm. Certainly shocking. Ronda was on top of the world at that point. I think we all felt that way with Nate Diaz, Conor. Conor felt untouchable when that happened. But again, these are all fights that happened relatively quickly. For this to be as late as it was after witnessing what we witnessed for 4 3/4 round, probably even more than that. What is it? 4 4/5 rounds. And to see that end the way that it did, stunning. And tough afterwards, for Leon, who definitely had the world doubting him. He was a big-time underdog for what he did for the UK, for him talking to his mom, the celebration that he had. Those are my favorite moments of the sport. They really are. I remember when Usman first won the title. And the emotions that he had when he got the belt. And I love that. I don't think there's anything cooler in the sport than the person winning their first title, but especially doing it when it's not expected. It's just something about it in UFC that you just absolutely, absolutely love. It's just so meaningful. I don't think you ever forget that. And now, what comes with the champ losing is some interesting stuff. Now, it feels like Dana White was like, we're doing Usman, Edwards 3, Wembley Stadium. And remember, he's not a big stadium guy. Like, that's not a Dana White thing. He usually likes to do arenas, O2 Arena. He wants to bring this to Wembley Stadium. He knows that place is going to be packed. Usman tweeted this out afterwards. He says, champs F up sometimes, but we bounce back and come with a vengeance. And he hashtags nightmare. And then there was this funny moment in the post-fight press conference with Dana White where somebody's calling him and is just like saying something to Dana, and Dana's like, "Oh, great fight, man, and talk to you soon." And some analysis has gone on since then, and it was Kamaru Usman calling him, basically saying, "I'm sorry, I effed up. I will come back. I'm gonna kill him next time." So Usman was just like ready to bounce back and get it. And I cannot wait for that rematch. And I gotta imagine that Usman's gonna be a very heavy favorite going into it, much like Amanda was going against Juliana. Because people are going to look at this and say, "Oh, it was a fluke. That's not gonna happen again. He's not gonna allow that to happen again." But for all the mental talk that there was over Leon Edwards, think about this for Leon Edwards, how you have to be feeling of this is a guy who has beat you. You guys have fought basically 8 rounds together, and he has won the vast majority of those rounds, the vast majority of those moments, and you still were able to pull out this unbelievable win that shook up the world and shook up the sport. Because when you have this division that's so dominant, and we felt like he was on his way to win, and then, okay, maybe you got Khamzat who's going to come down the pipe, and maybe like Rakhmonov down the line is going to come down the pipe to challenge him. But, these guys are all still fairly young in their UFC time. We don't know if they really got the goods to go beat a Kamaru Usman. And now it kind of opens the door up for everybody. Like last night has to be a huge night for Colby Covington, who lost twice to Kamaru. And now if Leon is able to beat him again, okay, Colby's back in the mix. Jorge Masvidal. So even Masvidal definitely needs a win. I would say like a win over Gilbert Burns would go a long way for a guy like Jorge. Jorge was tweeting out, posted on Instagram last night. He says, "I guess we're going back to London," or "I hear we're going to London again," and then puts the 3-piece and a soda emojis, because that is the infamous scene of the crime where he beats Darren Till and then Leon Edwards is chirping at him, and then he gives him the old 3-piece and a soda and dips on out. And that was the year of 2019, the year of Masvidal, where he's really rising up the ranks. And Leon wants that fight. So yeah, if you are Jorge Masvidal, certainly you need to probably get a win. Leon has to beat Kamaru Usman, but if you are Masvidal, that's an unbelievably sellable fight, which people are going to get behind. And, I know a lot of people are dogging Masvidal right now, and certainly, like, he's had a tough go of it against the top creme de la creme of this division, against Colby and against Kamaru. But if the champ wants you, the big part of this is if the champ wants to fight you, we've seen this with Izzy Adesanya. Like, if the champ wants a piece of you, then you're in a good spot. And especially if you're a marketable guy like Jorge Masvidal. I agree with Leon. Leon saying that he has to get a win. I think everybody would agree with that. He's got to go get a win against somebody, whether that be, Gilbert Burns or maybe Khamzat after this. Because if Khamzat's going to fight Nate Diaz and beat him, then maybe Jorge needs to go that direction. He's going to have to beat somebody tough to get up there. I don't know if beating Sean Brady's enough like that. Sean Brady's kind of one of those young up-and-coming dark horses, another killer who's coming up in that welterweight division. Welterweight's stacked, dude. It's a stacked division, but now the king has been dethroned, and he'll have a chance to reclaim his throne. But until then, until that happens, definitely everybody else in that division has to be thinking to themselves, opportunity just opened up. Opportunity definitely opened up. I think that Usman, just on, my initial reaction is, I don't think Usman's going to lose to Leon Edwards in the rematch. But how can you not think, if you're Leon Edwards, how confident must you feel going into this next fight, knowing what you did and how you were able to pull out that win? You must think to yourself, I will definitely go about this more aggressively. I will definitely take advantages of Usman's tendencies and maybe bait him into something even earlier. This was a crazy night. It was a crazy night. I still can't wrap my head around it. I'm still shook by it to see the number one fighter, the number one pound for pound man in the sport, get knocked out cold like that when he's a minute away from retaining his championship. Mind-boggling. But congratulations to Leon Edwards. That was a thrilling, unforgettable night, which I thought he had no shot to do. And man, did he make me and a lot of people look like idiots. And that has to feel unbelievably cool for him. And that is why this sport is the best. It really is.